Welcome to the Real Smoke Podcast with your host, Mick and Charles, the podcast that's all about real people, real cigars, and real smoke. Coming to you live from the Real Smoke Virtual Cigar Lounge, bringing you the best of cigars, whiskey, and all the good times in between. This is more than just a podcast, it's a community of cigar lovers. So grab your favorite smoke, pour a drink, and join us as we dive into all things cigars, whiskey, and just having a damn good time. This is the Real Smoke Podcast.
What's up, brother?
What's up, man? Bravo on that that opening, man.
What'd you think about that?
Awesome. I did not expect all that, man. That's hearing the daughter's voice to open it up, man. That's awesome. I haven't seen it.
I was about to say, you know who that is, right?
I do. It didn't take me long.
We have been working on this for the last since the last podcast. Actually, that night I sent her sent her an idea, and then the next day we started working on that. So I wrote the copy, and she went through and tried to put down some vocals on it, and then I found some music, and we tried to figure out what it sounded best with, and we went from there. So I know she has been excited to
yeah, man,
for
that's
you to hear that, and I've been teasing you about it for the last 2 days, or 2 weeks.
You have been. Yeah, it's that's amazing, man. That's and honestly, it sounds like she was made to.
He's getting emotional.
It was made for her, man. It was good. That was good. She really did a great job with it. I appreciate it, man. That's awesome. Yeah,
she did a great job. Amazing. Well, welcome everybody to the Real Smoke Podcast. I am Charles, and with me, as always, is the man behind everything. It's the Mick.
Hey, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
Tonight we have a guest coming on here shortly. We have Joe Kinney from Jonose Cigars. So he'll be jumping on here with us here shortly. But to kick everything off, we do, as always, let's start with, I guess, some Cigar Public news. How about that?
Sounds perfect.
So if you don't know, all of our news comes from Cigar Public. So to find Cigar Public, you can look them up on Instagram at Cigar Public, or you can go to cigarpublic.com. You can get whiskey news, cigar news. You can get press releases as well as reviews. It's your one-stop shop to get all the whiskey and cigar information that you need. So you said you had something. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, I can start real quick, man. So I started going through. We keep getting followers from all over the world, literally. I mean, we're up to like 1,400 now, and it's not a lot in like the grand scheme of things, but man, it keeps growing every day. And I was like, man, I wonder how many countries we have followers in. It took me all day Sunday. But did you know, according to Google, there's 195 countries in the world, and we now have followers in 172 of them.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep. It
not
took me a long
bad
time
for
to figure that out.
What are we? We're 5 weeks in.
5 weeks in. So I was pretty excited about that. I've been sitting on that one too. So yeah, I'm 172 countries, man. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were very much surpassing all the things that we've been doing. So
absolutely,
good job to all of us, and thanks to everybody who has jumped on here and has listened and watched. And I know our Spotify channel is slowly growing. Our YouTube channel it's slowly getting there, but our Instagram account is jumping off like crazy. So thanks to everybody who's done that. So let's go into the next one. You a fan of Foundation? I know you are.
I sure am. Yes, sir.
Well, Foundation Cigar Company begins shipping the 2024 release of the Tabernacle Night Commander. In a press release, Foundation Cigar Company is pleased to announce that the highly anticipated 2024 release of the Tabernacle Night Commander has started shipping to cigar shops nationwide. Enthusiasts can expect this limited edition cigar to arrive on shelves as early as next week. Crafted as a 6 3/4 by 52 Perfecto with a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper and premium tobaccos, this annual fall release combines an exceptional craftsmanship with a commitment to social responsibility by supporting a meaningful I cannot say that word. You can know what I mean.
Philanthropy?
Yeah, something like that. Net profits of this release will go to support the Royal Ethiopian Trust, inspired by the prestigious honor bestowed upon Nicholas Malilo, the founder of Foundation Cigar Company. The Ethiopian Crown Council, the Tabernacle Knight Commander, commemorates Malilo's title as the Knight Commander of the Ethiopian Star of Honor, established by the Emperor Menelik II in 1889. So what do you think about that? Wow. That's like being an English knight, I guess.
Sounds like a great cigar. I mean, I really haven't had many Foundation cigars I didn't love. So yeah, I'll check it out.
I'm honestly trying to figure out one that I've tried from them that I didn't like.
I don't have one.
So I'm going to try it just because I'm impressed that, I guess he's been knighted. I mean, that's the easiest way I can put it. So a cigar commemorating something like that, I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So our next one, you know anything about the UFC?
I don't follow it as much as some guys I know, but yeah, I watch it every now and then.
You like Conor McGregor?
Oh yeah.
Well, he had his Proper 12 whiskey brand, right?
Yep.
Was excited about having that, talked about is about time that there was something, an Irish lad had his hands on that he was going to be with it forever, and then sold it for a shit ton of money. I mean, we can think of cigar brands that said, it's going to stay small. And then next week they announced that, hey, I've sold for $1 million or $10 million.
Absolutely.
Well, guess what? Guess who's jumping into the cigar business?
Conor McGregor.
Good old Conor. Conor McGregor is known for dominating both in and out of the octagon. As a UFC champion, he brought not just skills, but also unrivaled entertainment value. With memorable moments like his with Trash Talk with Nate Diaz and the infamous outburst where he threw chairs at his opponent's bus, his swagger-filled strut has become an iconic meme. McGregor's ventures outside of the ring has been just as high profile. He launched Proper 12 Irish whiskey, which later sold for an impressive $423 million. Almost $500 million.
Yeah. We're in the wrong business.
I cannot say anything that, he says that he's going to keep it forever, then sells it for almost $500 million. High five, brother.
I'd sell too. Yeah.
He even bought a Lamborghini yacht, living a life as extravagant as you expect from the notorious fighter. Now his latest move into this cigar industry with Notorious Cigars.
Wow.
There's not much out right now about it, but you can, I think he's got like 5 posts on Instagram. You can go follow him on Instagram. I think it's Notorious Cigars.
Wow.
But there is an awesome article on Cigar Public by John Carnitas. That was just the first couple of paragraphs. Go out there and check that article out. It's pretty fantastic. And I mean, you can see some awesome images of Conor in all of his glory. That poor bastard.
How about it?
So, since we usually do this as cigar news, there is a whiskey news on there. Chattanooga did release their fall 2020 edition or vintage, so go check that out. But the last cigar news I got coming out is from JC Newman. I like me some JC Newman. You like you some JC Newman?
Yeah, I sure do.
Well, JC Newman Cigar Company introduces the Troublemaker. I need this cigar. I need to give this cigar to my wife. This cigar needs to be just for my wife. A new size to its top-selling Diamond Crown Julius Caesar brand of luxury cigars. This the Troublemaker is a 5 3/4 by 52 soft perfecto. It is packed in a leather box with 20 cigars and suggested for $17 a cigar in a leather box.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, not bad.
Different.
So I'm kind of interested in that. But anyways, that's pretty cool. So that's all I've got for cigar news. So again, if you want some more news and information, go to cigarpublic.com or go check them out on Instagram at Cigar Public.
Oh yeah. Let's bring on the guest.
I think we should. You think?
I think we should.
Oh, what the hell? Let's go ahead and do this. So let's see. Let's go on up here. Get rid of that. Put this up and say hello. Let's welcome Joe Kinney
What's up,
of
brother?
Jonose Cigars. Joe is
Welcome,
the co-editor for Cigar Public. He's also one of the contributing writers as well as one of the founding cigar reviewers. And when I say founding cigar reviewers, he literally has been there since day one. He has a YouTube channel called Jonose Cigars that I do think that mine and his palate is semi-close. His is quite more sophisticated, but I usually test my scoring palette against his, and so he's usually what I go up against. So let's all welcome some Joe. What's up, Joe?
Thank you very much for that very, very flattering introduction. Wow, that was a lot of praise all in one sentence there. That was didn't realize that was so accomplished. That's fantastic.
We like having guys on,
some
man.
good.
So excited to be a guest.
You got some good cigar cred going on there.
Well, it's been something that I just really, really enjoy doing, and started the channel 7 years ago to just. I wanted to be one of these reviewers on YouTube who seemed to be having such a better time smoking cigars than I ever had. And it was like whatever they're doing, they must have known, they must have discovered something that I want. I want whatever they're getting. And then, the more I reviewed cigars, the more I realized, oh, wow, you know what? They weren't just, BSing us with all these flavor notes. There's a lot to unpack in some of these cigars. And if you sit down without a phone or a TV and just pay attention to the cigar, you can pick up a lot of different flavor notes and aromas that, to this day, people who have been watching my channel for years will, they'll comment every now and then, okay, I like your reviews, man. I love what you do, but for crying out loud, are you kidding me with some of these review notes? And it's like, hey, man, when's the last time you actually sat down and just paid attention to nothing else than the cigar that you're smoking? And if you can honestly say you did that and you still don't pick up the notes, okay, fine. But I think the majority of people who have been smoking cigars for, more than just a couple of years, they'll find out something very similar will happen with them. If they just sit and completely focus on the cigar that they're enjoying, they're going to get a lot more than they thought possible.
100% agree. And, one thing that we can go into here in a little while is actually how that's done, because I know we do have a lot of new cigar people who are watching this. And, that's kind of what we want to reach out to, is not the person who's been doing this for 42 years and is the connoisseur of all things tobacco, but more along the lines of people who were just like us a few years ago or whatever, just getting to know what a cigar is all about. So I agree with you. And then there's some people that their most accomplished day is picking up 3 or 4 notes. And then there's some people that can pick up 47 notes. And I mean, like, this is French mustard from the left part of the country in some mountain under a hill next to a troll that lives on a bridge. I mean, I think that was actually one of Joe's flavor notes one time. So.
I don't know if I've ever been to that side of the French countryside, but
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I would have to imagine.
Might have been the west side.
Yeah.
I will say I just watched one with I forget from when it was from, but on YouTube when you were doing the Rojas street tacos.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting because I've smoked that cigar like 30 times, and there was like sweet tangerine and cardamom or something like that. I'm like, come on, man. And honestly, trust me, your palate is, I guarantee, 1,000 times better than mine. But I'm like, man, that is very exact, and I never picked that up on it. So interesting. Now I need to go buy a box.
I will sometimes get a citrus on that one that pops up every once in a while.
It's funny too, because everybody's palate is going to be different, and if people are actually paying attention to what they're doing, you don't necessarily need to expect that you're going to be getting the exact same flavor notes that another reviewer is getting, because a lot of factors play into this. Time of day that you smoked it, what was the air quality like, what was your mood when you lit up the cigar. That has a bearing. What did you eat for 20 minutes before you lit it up? Were you tired? All these things make a huge difference on how your body perceives the smoke that you're enjoying. And there been every cigar that I get, anytime I smoke it more than once, something is a little bit different. There's similarities. I know I'm smoking the same cigar, but there's going to be little nuances that I didn't notice that the last time I smoked that cigar. This one feels a little saltier than the one I just smoked yesterday. All this makes a big difference. And there are cigars that I found that I just don't smoke in the evening time because I find out they don't taste as good in the evening time. There's give you an example, the Oliva Connecticut Reserve. I love that cigar in the morning. It's gentle, it's creamy, it's just enough to get your palate, waking up when you're first getting up in the morning. I've had that cigar a couple times in the evening, and it is the most boring, nondescript flavor experience when I smoke it at night. But if I smoke it in the morning, particularly with a cup of coffee, it's excellent. It's just perfect for that time of day. And this is stuff that I didn't realize was a thing until I discovered, all this makes a big difference on how much I'm going to enjoy a cigar. And I was kind of relieved because I thought, oh, shit, I don't like this cigar anymore. Or no, they've gotten bad. They don't make them as good as they used to anymore. Then I realized, no, it's not necessarily that. It's just this isn't a nighttime cigar. This is a cigar you're supposed to have in the morning or early afternoon. So I was really relieved when I lit it up the next time and it was in the morning time and it tasted like I remember it tasting. It's like, okay, good. Everything's fine.
That's awesome. That's very impressive, man. I'm definitely not quite to that point yet, but I know what I like and slowly work through the flavor notes and everything on my own. But it's definitely a journey, man. You got to learn what you like, and that's amazing. Like time of day, I never even thought of that being really a factor. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, did you guys see, this was Michael Herklutz of Ferio Tego. He used to be of Nat Sherman, and he bought a bunch of the brand rights from Nat Sherman when they went kaput. And then he started Ferio Tego. He was on, I don't know who was interviewing him, but he brought up an interesting point. He said there are two types of cigar smokers, and they're very similar to people who listen to music. There's the music nerds who, when a particular song comes in, they're really, they focus on the chord progressions and the rhythm changes and the different layerings of the musical components that are going on in the song. And then there are other music people who just like the song, the whole of it. They just enjoy sitting back and listening to the song. And that's a really good parallel with cigar smokers. There are people, the majority of them are just like, do I like the cigar or do I not? They may not even be able to articulate why they do or do not like a particular cigar. They just know that one, they enjoy, and another, not so much. And then you have psychotic nerds like me who are just going into analyzing it something to death and trying to figure out, okay, why don't I like it? What is it about it that I don't like? And let me articulate this as best as I possibly can. Usually I fail. But the point is, I'm trying to dig as deep as I possibly can whenever I'm smoking a cigar. And I don't know why I do. That's just, I feel inclined to do it, and so I do. And for some reason, I get something out of it, and I film it, and I put it online, and apparently a few people end up watching it, so I keep doing it.
Awesome.
Well, see, I will say that, I compare it to people who like food. You will have people who eat food because their stomach says it's time to eat.
Right.
And then you have people who will take 30 minutes to eat the smallest meal because every bite they're enjoying so much.
Yeah.
I am that person. I enjoy food.
Yeah.
I enjoy what it took for somebody to make that dish and all the spices and all the time that they took in to making it. That's the same, that's that food nerd. That's also that cigar nerd who's going, oh, they must have added an extra little bit of Ligero. That's why it's this way. Or it's got to be broadleaf and, Mexican in this cigar. It's got to be a mix. It's that same kind of thing. But before we start running too long, we do have a cigar. So let's tonight we have the Jake Wyatt Cigar Company Maverick. It's got a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, a Corojo binder, and the fillers are Pennsylvania broadleaf, Criollo, and Pilato. Usually goes for about $9 a stick. So that's kind of what we're smoking tonight. Joe, am I going to assume that you're using the Cigar Public method of scoring tonight?
I typically do. That's when I do a cigar reviews even for my channel, I default to that method because that's the one that feels the most natural to me now.
Same here. I didn't want to do a different scoring system. So Joe and I both will be doing the Cigar Public scoring review system. And Mick has his system that he's used forever, so he'll be doing his. So let's jump into that cigar. Gonna let our guest go first. What do you get on the nose?
So off the body, there's always going to be elements of earthiness on Mexican San Andreas to me, but there's also chocolatey notes off of this one. There's a little bit of a pungence, almost like a sour pungence that's reminiscent of Barnyard that I get off of the body. You'll notice that when you start turning the cigar on its foot and smelling the open foot, it smells subtly different than just what it does on the body, because on the body you're just really getting primarily the wrapper leaf. You might get a little bit of aromas leaking through from the underneath elements, but it's primarily the wrapper leaf that you're smelling. And then when you get the open foot, now you're getting to be able to get the fillers in a much bigger way. And on the foot, I'm getting a lot of dark dried fruit.
Okay, I've got and I like to read what I've already smoked it for the first time versus what I'm getting it today, just to see if they line up. So this is my first and second. I've got milk chocolate, molasses, and Barnyard on the body. I got chocolate raisins. I got chocolate raisins and syrup on the foot.
Hey, that sounds very close to what I got. So
I am mildly different.
Have you reviewed this before, by the way? Sorry.
I reviewed this in a different Vitola. I reviewed it, I believe, in the Toro. And I've had in the 6x60 box press as well. I have not had the Robusto yet. So this is actually a first for this particular Vitola.
Nice. Awesome. Go ahead, Mick.
Yeah, mine is very similar, slightly different. On the nose, I get hay and raisin, light sweetness, maybe a little baking spices. And on the foot, I get chocolate, maybe a little bit of hay. So yeah, it's very, very close to what you guys.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna go cold draw on mine. Musty earth, raisins, tobacco, and I got a loose draw.
I've got a very comfortable draw. It's relaxed, but it's not overly loose. It's not like breathing through a straw, for example. I like the way it feels. And yeah, a lot of the notes that you said, a lot of musty notes. I was thinking a little bit of musty cedar in there, but definitely some earth and definitely some more dried fruit.
Yep, I'm a little bit of light chocolate sweetness and baking spices. So.
Nice. Wow, everybody's getting their stuff lit up. We got comments, man. I am sorry to all of you guys who are commenting. Digger's watching. He says, "What's up?" He says, "Giddy up." Jordan, our brother from California, says, "What's up, guys?" He's headed home right now. Digger says, "Connor cigars?" ? Yes, Connor, freaking McGregor. He's gonna make some good cigar, sell it for $500 million, and be done with it. And Gurkha's gonna buy what he's got left and gonna turn it into the worst damn cigar ever.
Have you gotten a chance to smoke the Undisputed yet, Charles or Mick?
No. I've not.
So I haven't tried. They have one that's like a reasonable size. I think it's like a close to a Toro. But then they have this dumbass 7x70 Vitola. And I've had them both in the Habano and the Maduro. The Maduro was okay. The Habano was just the most blasé tasting cigar. It was just terrible. I was in a cigar about halfway. Yeah, I put it out about halfway through. It was just like, this is the dumbest thing. I hate this.
I was in a cigar lounge in Kentucky.
I don't make it a habit to crap on cigars, but I knew exactly what this project was. It was a giant, starstruck money grab that they didn't have any sort of artistic integrity involved with it, and it was just stupid. So I hate it when companies do stuff like this, and I call it out for whenever it comes out, something like that. Like, this is dumb. There's really no place for this in this industry. It cheapens the craft. Stop it. Stop doing stuff like this.
I was at a cigar lounge in Kentucky, and I walked into the humidor, and they had a bunch of them up front. And I went to grab it, and the lady who owned the thing said, "Don't do it." She said,
"Oh, good for her."
She said, "Yeah." She said, "I should sell you this, but you're going to spend that amount of money on this, and you're going to be mad at me."
Yeah.
And she said, "Don't do it."
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, good for her. She's got some integrity. Was she an owner or just someone who works there?
She owned it.
Nice. Well, good for her.
She was the owner. She was the boss lady.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, so I got on the light, and I'm getting the same stuff again, so it's consistent. Oak, earth, black pepper, retro, earth, black pepper. Lots of smoke. The draw's not as bad as what it was. Lots of smoke. It's going to be I think it's going to be a full body one.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I first met Neil Garcia and Gerard Abidjan. These are the guys that started Jake Wyatt a couple years ago, and they had not released this one yet. And I did an interview with them, and we sat down in a cigar lounge. It was a nice time, and I asked them what their next project was, and they said, well, you know, we deal with primarily a lot of Dominican cigars and Dominican tobacco, and Dominican tobacco isn't widely known as being particularly full-bodied, but we're trying to get something that's a much more fuller-bodied cigar in our catalog, so that's going to be what's coming down the pike next. And then next year is when the Maverick hit the market, and definitely their most full-bodied offering that they have in their catalog.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, I think it's solid. I mean, so far, like I enjoy a more medium full to full, and it definitely hits that mark.
Yeah, it's got a nice oil presence on the smoke texture, which I always appreciate. I just feel like that whenever you get some sort of oily sensation on the palate, whenever you're smoking it, it makes the experience better as opposed to an overly tannic or drying sensation when you're smoking a cigar. I get a lot of bittersweet chocolate notes, some dry cocoa. On the retrohale in particular, once I get past that initial pepper blast, which you just described, Charles, I definitely concur with that. But they're on that back end, I just keep getting something that reminds me of like crushed Oreo cookies in the background, which is really kind of cool. It just ties in nicely with the earthiness and the bittersweet chocolate you get on the draw. I love it when the retrohale kind of piggybacks on top of the draw flavors and just layers it more. When a cigar does that, that's always a plus in my book.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I see. This is where you guys are way better at explaining what you're tasting, but I'm right with you. I mean, I got like light cocoa written down here, black pepper for sure, maybe a touch nutty, but it's exactly what you guys are describing. Only in a much more, you guys are a little bit more thorough on it, but yeah, same thing right here.
You know, it's funny because I kind of miss being a newer cigar smoker because I just felt like there was so much newness to it. You know, when you first get into smoking cigars, it's just like every time you lit something up, it's just like, holy shit, oh my, that's the best cigar I've ever had in my life. And it's like, okay, well that's easier to do when you've only had 10 cigars in your life. So I mean, that's, you know, you run the risk of getting a little bit jaded and snobby when you get deeper into anything. So that's something you always have to guard against, which I'm not sure how well I do with that, but I try to keep that in check.
Yeah, like I said, I know what I like, and I've been smoking cigars regularly for about 2.5 years now, probably. Like I was off and on, you know, camping guy, fishing, you know, whatever before, and never really knew what a great cigar was until probably 2 years ago. kind of went down that rabbit hole, and I've never dug my way back out. But as for describing what I'm actually, I know what I love, but to actually describe it as well as you guys do, maybe I'll get there someday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, while we're getting into the third on this one, I do want to say congratulations. You are coming up on 7 years of Jonose Cigars.
Past 7 years.
That's
actually.
Yeah, past 7 years. So when was the
7 years? Was actually in late June, but I was late in getting the HERF. So like I celebrate the anniversary of the channel every year with the HERF, and the HERF had to be pushed back just because of personal life reasons until November. So we're doing it in early November, but yeah, the channel started officially in 2017 in late June. So
that's awesome.
Thank you for the
congratulations on that one.
Yeah.
So how did this get started?
The channel?
Yeah.
So I had been smoking cigars kind of where Mick is right now. I've been smoking cigars for a couple of years and just decided that I really, really just enjoy this hobby. And I had started just watching every channel I could get my hands on YouTube when it came to cigar anything. And I really liked watching cigar reviews, gravitated primarily to Brian Glenn of Cigar Obsession, really watched how he did things and his style and how he approached the cigar review process. And he just always seemed like he was having a great time whenever he was reviewing a cigar. And I just wanted that. I wanted to have the experience that he was having. It's like he's getting something out of a cigar that's beyond what I'm getting. And I don't know what it is, but you can tell whenever time you watch a video of it, he's getting a lot of enjoyment out of life. So I want to be where he is. And so I just decided on a whim almost, hey, I'll stick a camera in front of my face and just tell everybody what I'm getting when I smoke a cigar. And I mean, the video quality of that first couple of years of the channel was pathetically bad. I mean, it was literally me taking my phone and holding it up in front of my face and just telling people, hey, this is the cigar I'm smoking. And, oh, it's got kind of a vanilla charred oak sort of thing, I think. And so that was basically the extent of my reviews. And then after a while, it's just like, you know what? Get yourself a stupid tripod. Get yourself a camera. Try to make it look like you give a damn about this before you start doing anything else on the channel. So I slowly added more equipment, got some wireless mics, got some better lighting, got this backdrop canvas with my face on it, and better editing equipment and so on, and just tried to really get as best as. I'm not the most tech savvy guy. I mean, in fact, I'm probably in about the 3rd percentile when it comes to being knowledgeable when it comes to anything technological. So I was really just flying by the seat of my pants getting this thing off the ground, and it was just a slow and steady growth. We're coming up on 5,300 subscribers on YouTube. But I
nice.
never really did this to gain a following or to make any monetization. I mean, everybody knows if you're trying to get monetization or not on YouTube with cigars, forget it. It doesn't exist. But it was never about that. I just enjoyed doing it. And I just enjoyed how much more I appreciated the cigar when I was actually focusing on it for a review. Every time I lit up a cigar for a review, it was better than it would have been otherwise. And I knew this after I started doing reviews. It's like, man, this tasted better when I reviewed it. Why is that? And then I realized, it's because I wasn't distracted by anything else. I wasn't going too fast. I wasn't talking to somebody else and puffing on it too hard. In the process, I was really taking my time and paying attention to the cigar. And that's how I got the most out of it. And so after that, it was just trying as many different cigars as I possibly could, because I was just trying my best to experience everything that tobacco can offer when it comes to cigars. And there is a wide range of flavor profiles, tactile sensations with smoke texture, aroma. Everything is there's so much depth to it. And just when I feel like I'm starting to get a hang of what tobacco can do, somebody who's really creative in the industry brings something new to the table. And it's just like, well, great. I guess I'll never have to worry about running out of things to discover. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually wrote a couple things down here since I've been recently catching up on a few of your videos. So what was your gateway cigar? I don't know if I ever made my way back to some of your first stuff. What was your gateway cigar that really brought you into it?
So the first cigar I ever reviewed for the channel was the Gran Habano Vintage 2002 in Churchill.
Okay.
It was a cigar that was affordable, and I had a bunch of them in my humidor because when you're young and you're broke, you're just buying the most economical cigars that aren't swishers. You know, you're trying to find something that looks and still passes as a premium cigar, but doesn't cost. Like now, you get a little older, you make a little bit more money. You don't shy away from the cigars that are $17, $18. Back then, it was like, oh, no, I can't smoke that. That's way too expensive for me.
Yeah.
And that's completely understandable. But at the time, I was looking for cigars that were, $6, $7, $8. So that fit that bill. But my first cigar that got me kind of hooked on smoking cigars in general was, I believe it was the Romeo and Julieta Reserva Real. I'm pretty sure that was the cigar that it was. It's either that one or the 1875. I can't remember which one of the two it was. And it really wasn't the cigar itself that hooked me. It was the experience that I had with the cigar. It was the night before I got married. My brother Chris, who's younger than me, who had already gotten into cigars before I did, he brought a bunch over to my apartment with a bottle of vintage port wine, and we went outside. We lit those up with the rest of my brothers. We had the best time. And it was just like, man, I want to be able to do that again. That was great. And then you realize, oh, this is where cigars have staying power, is that community aspect. Conversation hits different when it's over a cigar. And 100%. It hits different than over a drink either. I mean, a drink doesn't hurt, but like a cigar, it puts it on a different level. And there's scientific 100%. Reasons for that. Like I think nicotine as a substance has a way of making your mind a little bit more lucid, and you're more willing to share your thoughts while smoking a cigar. I think that adds a lot to it. But when you're all sharing something in common, there's something about it that really levels the playing field. And I think that lends itself to the ability to let one's guard down and expose what you're actually thinking and give your honest thoughts on a subject, whatever it is, when you're having a conversation with other people over a cigar.
Could not agree
100%
more.
Agree
Absolutely.
on that one. Yeah. So really quickly on here, we got some other comments. Big Bear's on here, said had to jump on here because YouTube was lagging bad. I've actually got my phone over here, and I'm seeing that YouTube is lagging bad on my phone right now. But we have our brother Mike's on here. He said, hero number 1 and 2. What's up, Mick and Charles? What's up, Mike? Nice to see you on here. Robert Stentz, Scenic City Cigars in Chattanooga. I will be seeing you either this weekend or towards the mid of the week. So I will see you in the next few days. He wants to know, what is everybody pairing with the cigar that they're having?
It's a good question.
I am having the Plantation Pineapple Rum.
Oh,
nice.
I've got Evan Hill Bottled and Bond Bourbon.
Very nice.
There's an empty bottle of that right behind me. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am having water.
See, you're the only one who's actually doing the review unobstructed.
Yes. Like I always start off saying, if with all the buttons that I've got to go through and the 4 different pages and stuff on here, if I'm drinking while doing this thing is going to get fucked up quick.
Well, I'm sorry,
I mean, there's going to be, we need to do one where I just say, okay, the family Herf night that we're having at the end of the year to close out season 1, I'll be drinking on that one. So it may be one big picture of Mick on here because I can't figure out how to push the buttons, but that'll happen.
Full disclosure, having this while doing a cigar, this is a big no-no for me if I'm doing a cigar review for my channel or for Cigar Public. And normally it is just ice water when I'm doing cigar reviews. That's what I typically do. this felt like a little bit more of a fun time, so I brought something out to go with it. So
Hell yeah.
We're
all about a fun
sincerely
time.
glad you did, and I'm more happy that you've got it in a Glen than just some plastic cup like I'll have later. So, but I will say this: do you enjoy using a Glencairn?
I do. I mean, it's
Try a Visky.
Yeah. So when I first saw these, I just thought, man, these look as pretentious as hell. I just felt like this is frou-frou stuff. And then you realize, oh, okay,
no,
you can actually get the aromas.
It's as important as
yeah. And then
it's as important as cutting a cigar the right way.
Yeah. So then some dude showed me a really cool party trick you can achieve with the Glencairn glass, which goes something like this. And then you can drink it with smoke coming out of your glass at the same time.
Yep.
I thought that looked really cool, so I was like, oh, you can't do that with any other glass.
Now, I will say that there is a updated version of that. It's called a Visky. The mouth on it's a little bit wider, so it's easier to nose, and it's easier to drink because I have an Irish nose, so it's a little bit bigger. So it's hard to, drink with a Glen.
Yeah.
It's got a heavier base for those nights that you drink a lot.
Right.
And it's a little more angled. I have actually gone to more the Visky when I do whiskey reviews. I enjoy it. I think I get more out of it. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm the same way. If I'm drinking to enjoy and I want to know about the whiskey, I'm going to use a Glen or a Visky. So
I'm not sure if I've ever
Cigars Unbanded says Jonose. Big exclamation point. Have a good show, guys.
Nice.
Glad to see you.
We were actually just talking about you guys. Me and Mick were just talking about Unbanded cigars. So our Cigars Unbanded.
Yes, we were hoping to get them on here eventually. We're trying to link up with some of the other podcasts, and so many people want to compete in this industry, and it's really no competition. We just want to have fun and chat with some great people, and kind of grow the wealth of knowledge for great cigars, and put out there what we enjoy. So
it's all about making connections anyway. So that's great.
Absolutely.
So going into your to your YouTube channel, did you get in when you first started it? Was you doing more cigar reviews, or were you looking to interview people, or did like interviewing people want to come later? What was where did you guide yourself when you first started?
Yeah, when I first did it, it was all reviews. There was really nothing extra about it. It wasn't until much later that I decided to get into possibly interviewing people. And I did for a time, I was interviewing people pretty regularly. And I think the big reason was I had a lot more time on my hands because of COVID. There was, this huge period of time where I just was not as busy as I had been. And this is a lot of people's story. How many new smokers came about because of COVID-19? A lot. Cigar production and consumption in the United States in particular went through the roof. And now we're kind of seeing the other side of that mini cigar boom that happened in 2022. People are starting to come back to earth. They realize, I don't have the same time that I used to have anymore. And so cigar consumption is going back down to a more realistic level. But during the time of 2020, I had a lot more time, so I started just reaching out to people. And that was another really gratifying thing about the cigar industry is that if you reached out to people who are cigar manufacturers, first of all, they're super accessible. They're really easy to get in touch with. And most of them, there are exceptions, but most of them are very receptive to doing interviews. They're like, yeah, give me a time. I'll sit down with you for an hour and I'll talk to whatever you want to talk about. And they would. And most of them, after I do an interview with them, they're like, send me your address. I'm going to send you a care package. And then everybody started sending me free stuff, and it was just like, well, thanks, man. I wasn't doing this for the free stuff. And it's like, that's fine. I'm going to send it to you anyway. And then in 2020, I had so much downtime. I was like, you know what? People are stuck at home. Everyone's doing things virtually. I'm going to start doing a live stream trivia night just so people can have some semblance of social interaction, And so we started doing, I was doing those once a month. Now I'm doing like maybe two
I
or
know.
three.
I know.
I'm only doing like 2 or 3 a year because, my life has gotten back into full swing again. So, but those are all the things that kind of came along fairly organically, and really the emphasis of the channel is just reviews. I don't do a whole lot of interviews anymore. I used to do more. I wish I could do more, but it's a time constraint really with me. And I don't do the channel full time. It's definitely a part-time. In fact, it's still just a hobby at this point. If in a perfect world, I would be doing this full time and, making a living off of it and having the best life I could possibly imagine, but that's not the way the world works. So I'm still doing it whenever I can. There are a lot of cigar reviewers that put way more reviews out than I do. I do one a week. I feel like that's a comfortable pace that I can maintain without, rushing the process. So that's what I'm sticking with. But yeah, the emphasis has always been, and really for the most part still is, the main focus of the channel.
Nice.
Very nice.
So the people that you've gotten to interview, and by the way, that's how I got to know you. One was, meeting, kind of chatting back and forth through Cigar Public when we first jumped on there. But the first experience I had with you was just coming through YouTube and seeing you doing one of your lives, and got on there and I won. So I was happy.
That's right.
You gave, I think the prize was JC Newman El Batons.
Yeah.
Never had it before, and it is one of my favorite cigars. I absolutely love that cigar.
And it's so cheap. It's not an expensive cigar. And a lot of people don't really give it the time of day because it looks like a bundle. So, it looks like a budget cigar. I mean, especially with the old branding that they used to have on it, they've rebranded it in recent years. So now it looks a little bit more sharp, and it's got a more luxury feel to the band work and stuff like that. But that cigar has always been solid, and I feel like it's gotten better. And it's one of those, it's an unassuming cigar, but it really surprises you. It's got a lot of depth to it and some real strength in the flavor. I think it's a pretty good smoke myself.
I think it's excellent. So out of the people that you've gotten a chance to interview, who's your favorite? I'm not going to ask you who your worst is.
Yeah.
I will ask you. I will send you a text later and ask you who your worst was. But who's your favorite?
So the most fun I ever had was actually at PCA 2023. Cigar Public hired me to just be on the trade room floor and interview as many people as possible. And so they basically just gave me free reign and said, here, you go. We've got a booth set up for you. Get as many people as you can to interview here at our booth. If they can't make it over to our booth, go to their booth. And so the first day I was there on Friday, the vendors were all still setting everything up. It wasn't really officially open to the public just yet. So I spent all day Friday just going around the trade room floor, making appointments, putting my foot in the door, and just telling people what I was doing, tell them, hey, we're a new cigar media company. We're trying to interview as many people as possible. Would you be interested in giving us 15, 20 minutes of your time so we could do an interview at our booth? And I think we did, over the course of the 4 days that we were there, I think we did close to 100 interviews. And it was so much, and it wasn't just cigar manufacturers. There were cigar reviewers there. There were people from Cigars for Warriors who were there. We did a lot of different types of interviews with different sort of people in the industry. It wasn't just cigar manufacturers, but a few that stand out. And I mean, you picked a really good picture for the thumbnail for this video, by the way, with me and Saka. That guy, I was jealous. I barely had to do a damn thing to do that interview. I said a few words at the beginning, and he just went, and he talked for almost a half an hour straight. And it was comedy gold. It was everything a cigar nerd would want to listen to. I had a blast. He was super, super generous. He had this, I don't think the guy moved from his booth the entire weekend that PCA was going on that year. He just sat, I think he got up to go to the bathroom and to eat, and that was about it. He stayed there.
Every interview that I saw, he stayed in that same chair and had his feet propped up, just chilling.
Right. And he had this giant.
I mean, he's Saka. He didn't have to go to anybody. Everybody was coming to him.
You came to Steve. Yeah. So he had this giant chest sitting on this coffee table that was closed. It was like an old piratey looking chest. And it was me and a bunch of other guys from Cigar Public sat down with him, and that we were just eating it up because he was so much fun and he was funny, but he had a lot of insights to give and information that I wasn't aware of when it came to just how much Connecticut, like authentic Connecticut broadleaf, him and Nick Melillo buy in the cigar world. I think between him and Nick, they buy about 75% of all the broadleaf that's made in the cigar industry. They use a lot.
That's what I've heard.
But at the end of the interview, when it was finally done, you know, we got some pictures with them, and then he's like, yeah, just take whatever you want out of my chest. It's fine. And we open it up, and there's just a shit ton of Saka stuff just piled in this chest. And I'm looking at, there's some red meat lovers. Oh, there's some Paladin de Sa. Oh, that
is my favorite cigar that he makes.
Yeah.
It's a great cigar.
So I walked away with like 10 cigars from that chest, and I was like, you sure? And he's like, yeah, I've got literally hundreds of thousands of these. Just take whatever you want. So
Amazing.
He was a big one. I really enjoyed interviewing Michael Herklotz from Ferio Tego. He was really cool. It's a smaller company, but I really enjoyed their approach to the industry and their company. It was two guys from German Engineered Cigars. They have their stuff blended by Claudio Scroy, and really interesting sort of guys. I mean, they had things that they were trying to introduce into the cigar smoking experience, like, you should pair this cigar with this is a cigar you smoke when you're feeling down and dark at night and you're feeling despair creeping in your psyche. Smoke this. This is when you're driving a sports car on an open road. Yeah, this is what this is for. Here's a cigar that you pair with a particular type of music, just outside of the box sort of things that I found really interesting. So, yeah, PCA 2023 was a great time. I don't know if I'll ever get that experience again, but I was really happy to have that episode to experience, because it was a lot of fun and very, very eye-opening.
Well, hopefully me and Charles will be at a PCA someday, just wandering around, meeting great people. It'll be awesome. So I guess I got one more question here, and we should probably talk about the second, third a little bit, since we're just rolling on here.
Probably should talk about the first third.
Yeah, maybe that too.
We haven't even talked about the first third yet.
I guess I was writing shit down and actually got ahead of myself there. So watch a bunch of your videos. I got all kinds of notes here. What was your your best cigar you've ever done on the show that you've rated? Like, what was your highest rated cigar, if you know that offhand?
The highest rated cigar, man, that's really tough. There's been a couple, and one of my favorite that I've done was actually my favorite from last year for 2023, and it was one of the most unique cigars I had ever smoked, and it was a special release that Kyle Gellis of Warp does. He has another entity called Drop Cigar Club, and he makes special small batch cigars and has them released throughout the year. And one he did last year was called the Black Mango. It was a Corona Gorda, and it came in boxes of 10, which is, I love it when they sell them in boxes of 10, because I rarely do I ever smoke through a box of 20. That's a lot. But a box of 10 is perfect, and I think that's plenty of cigar to, get to know the blend effectively.
Yeah.
But that Black Mango, man, it was the most incredibly balanced and just completely satisfying cigar I've ever had. And it wasn't a full-bodied cigar. It was a medium-bodied cigar, but I felt so satisfied with that flavor experience that cigar brought. It was unique. You had tropical fruit notes, you had caramel, you had all these weird, funky sweetnesses coming through, and there was so much layering going on, and the smoke texture was just perfect, and the construction was on point, and the band was so minimalistic. It was just a black band with white lettering, but it was just great. I absolutely love that cigar. I think I rated 95, 96, something like that. That's about as high as I've ever gotten rating a cigar. The other one that I rated really high was, I don't know what year it was, but the cigar of the year for me was Sober Mesa Brûlée Blue by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. I'm not the biggest Connecticut guy. I tend to go more for the fuller body stuff. That's just tends to be my wheelhouse. But this one, it was just a gorgeous cigar in every aspect of the word. The smoke tasted incredible. The texture was amazing. I have pictures of this cigar where the ash is 2 or 3 inches long, and it was just burning razor sharp. It was just an amazing experience. And I think I might have scored that one a 97. I might have scored that one a 97. It's possible. I'm not really sure. I was having a hard time finding anything wrong with it. It was just like, you're trying not to make a review sound over the top when it's like, yes, this is a 99 or 100. I don't know if those exist, but it was difficult to find things to really deduct points on for that particular cigar. There was very little that I could find fault with it. So it was just like, I guess I'm going to have to give it a 97. It was that good.
Incredible. That's awesome.
All right, so let's move on to the first third. I know we're all well past that first third.
I'm just finishing.
I put into mine. I said into the first, notes up front are a powdery dark chocolate cedar followed by earth, a little nutty. Retro is earth, slightly sweet, followed by a black pepper, slight salt note on the lips, burn slightly wavy, nice ash. Strength is medium to full, lots of thick smoke. And if you notice, I even write the way that I send you my reviews.
Yeah. I like it.
I mean, I write a story.
Yeah.
I review in a story.
Yeah. And, you're not the only one who does that. Todd Farrell, another reviewer for Cigar Public, reviews in a similar style. And it's a fun read. It really is. I got bittersweet cocoa. I've got espresso powder. I've got earthy notes, lightly charged cedar, black pepper, touches of crushed Oreo, and hints of white pepper.
Cool.
And I got light black pepper, nutty, maybe a touch of honey, and light cocoa.
Nice.
Cocoa seems to be a common thread on all three of these.
It does.
Yeah.
It seems like it's either
about the smoke texture on this one. It's not an offensive texture. It's very smooth feeling. There's moments where you get a little bit of pepper grittiness in the smoke field, but overall it's a very nice, slightly oily but somewhat fluffy at the same time smoke texture, which is very enjoyable.
100%.
Yeah, it's a smoke texture to me, and just going into the story mode, it reminds me of fluffy clouds. It does. I mean, to me, it reminds me of fluffy clouds. It's not drying at all,
right?
And it's not something that you have to struggle with. It's a pleasant texture.
How's your draw?
Mine's good.
My draw has gotten better.
Mine's been not a problem this whole time. It's been good.
Nope.
So, are you into the second third, or are you starting into the second third?
I'm in the second third. I'm still early in the second third, but I'm in there.
All right, so we'll give it a little bit of time. So we talked about your channel, how you got started, I guess how you started doing the interviews and things like that. So you're in year number 7. Obviously, you're still going to keep doing it. What is your plans for it? What is your plans from here on out? How do you see it going? What would you like to do with it?
Yeah. So, I mean, people have asked me, would you like to start making cigars? Ideally, no. I don't want to be making cigars. And I'm even kind of reticent about the idea of like having my name attached to a cigar. I don't know. It would feel cheap if that happened, I guess, is where my mind is on that. I'm a cigar reviewer and a cigar lover first and foremost. That's where I see myself in the scope of the cigar world. And, I keep doing this because I feel like the more people that can make their foray into the cigar world and can understand why cigars are worth having and why they're enjoyable and how to enjoy them properly, the more people that do that, I feel like society in general is just going to be better off. I feel like American society as recently as 1920, which I know seems like a long time ago, but it's really not that long ago. As recently as 1920, 75% of American males smoke cigars.
Wow.
That's a lot of guys. And
that's a lot of guys.
It wasn't until right around World War II when the United States military started shipping over cigarettes because they were cheaper and easier to ship, that the huge paradigm shift occurred where people stopped smoking cigars and started smoking cigarettes. And the United States as a culture keeps going this way of doing the cheaper and easier thing. And it bothers me. It's not good for society. It's not good for the individual. We need to get back to, actually enjoying things. And to speak to your point that you made earlier, Charles, about when you eat, you're the one who really tries to enjoy every little detail about the food that you're eating. And that's something that's been largely lost in American society. Americans don't really dine anymore. They feed, and the stuff they feed on is pretty much shit. And we need to get away from that. We need to start enjoying these things that were meant for enjoyment, meant for relaxation, that were meant to be something that is done where you're slowing down in your life to appreciate it. We, as Americans, need to figure out how to slow the fuck down. Okay, we've got to get back to this.
Amen.
And if we don't, we're going to be screwed. We are really doing ourselves a big disservice by not slowing down. We're gonna keep dying at premature ages. We're gonna have a very jaded outlook on our life. We're not going to be able to pay attention to the needs of our loved ones if we don't start learning how to slow down. And cigars play a big part in this. And, a lot of people have this idea that cigars are basically just another version of a cigarette. They're not great for you. And I, to a certain extent, agree with that sentiment that, well, yeah, if you go hog wild on them and you don't enjoy them right, they probably aren't good for you. But that's true of literally anything. So don't single cigars out in that. And trying to equate them with cigarettes is stupid. There's no comparison. Yeah, they both have tobacco in them, but that's about where the similarities end. You have no idea how much negative effects come about from all the additives that are added to cigarettes. When I say you, I'm talking about the general public. I know you guys already know this, but the chemicals that are added to cigarettes are so incredibly toxic. People have gotten this idea that nicotine as a substance is actually bad for you. It's like, well, you'd have to have a huge level of nicotine for it to become bad for you. On its own, in the dosage that you're getting from a cigar, I am not afraid to say that there are zero health consequences from having nicotine as a substance in your body. The same amount of nicotine in a cigar can be found in a serving of eggplant. Okay, it's the same thing. Now it's delivered differently, but that's about it. You don't inhale cigars. At least you're not supposed to. There are some guys I know who do. I don't advise it. And it's funny because when cigarettes were first started to be marketed to the public by marketing firms, they were trying to tell people that, oh, this is a safer version of a cigar because you inhale it, you don't have to consume as much tobacco because the nicotine gets into your bloodstream faster and more efficiently. It's like, first of all, nicotine delivery was never the point of smoking a cigar. So you've already missed the point. The point of the cigar was to slow down. The point of the cigar was to relax, to unwind, to recalibrate, to become introspective, to open up to another fellow human being, and to enjoy the aromas and the flavor. I had someone recently just tell me, it's like, well, you guys must not like your lungs. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, the cigars, these must be hell on your lungs. And I said, you don't inhale cigars. And she looked at me and was like, what? And I said, you don't inhale cigars. And she said, well, what's the point? And I said, the point is we love the aroma and the flavor and the textures. That's it. And she said, oh, I never knew. And it's like, yeah, you and just about every other doctor that I come across seems to have this idea that cigar smokers inhale for some damn reason. So we've got a lot of work as a community to inform the rest of the world when it comes to the differences between cigars and cigarettes, because it is so regular that I come across someone who still think that this is just a big cigarette. That's what they think.
I know you've touched on this like 3 times now, but and Charles probably sick of hearing this story, but I'll make it real quick. That's how I actually got into doing podcasts and kind of talking about cigars. Because when I first really got into cigars, I was in Florida at this little place called Cuban Paradise. Yeah. And I walked in, there was this old head smoking in there, and I always like to ask him what they're smoking. I'm like, hey man, what are you smoking? He's like, son, it's not always about what you're smoking, it's who you're smoking it with and the real mints you share. And literally that's everything to me, and that's how all of this started, and that's how I met Charles through TriStar, and it's just it's been an amazing journey, and it's all about that fucking journey and those moments you share with the people you love,
And how does that saying go? The best cigar in the world is the one you're enjoying right now, right? Like if you're enjoying a cigar, that's great.
Exactly.
Yep. So to answer your question, where do I see the channel? First of all, I do this primarily for me. I do the cigar reviews because I enjoy doing them. And until I stop enjoying doing reviews, I'll keep doing it. I've met a lot of great people doing this. Some of my favorite people in the world have come about through smoking cigars. I love the industry model of it. When I say that, I mean I'm talking about like the family-owned legacy sort of structure that exists in the cigar world. You have these companies that have been in the family for generations. I love that aspect about it. I love that sort of family-centric focus when it comes to cigar companies. I think it's interesting, going back to the point I was just going on a tirade a couple minutes ago about. You look at all the guys who've been smoking cigars in Central America and in Florida who've been making cigars for decades. How old was Jose Orlando Padron when he finally died? It was like, 91? And that guy smoked, 5
he was in his 90s.
Yeah, it's like, okay. And then, Carlos Fuentes Sr., he was in his 80s.
George Burns.
George Burns. There's so many people who've smoked cigars like a lot, not just, I had a cigar a day. So I know these are guys that are smoking multiple every day, and they're outliving most of us here in the United States. So it's like, I'm not so sure the cigars are the death sentence that everybody's trying to push that they are. Yeah. So,
but going back to what you were saying, we as Americans need to learn how to slow down.
Yeah.
One thing that you see in the Hispanic culture is that they have learned how to slow down.
Yeah. That's something I discovered. This is something that Dunbarton brought to my attention with their blend of Sobra Mesa, because I was trying to figure out, what does Sobra Mesa mean? And come to find out, there's not really a direct translation in English to the word Sobra Mesa. Sobra Mesa is a concept, and the concept is a time after the evening meal where people relax with a drink or a cigar or playing dominoes or just conversing. It's a period of time that they pay attention to slow down. Like, that's what Sobra Mesa means. Literally, it means like over the table, but that just gives you the setting of what happens during Sobra Mesa. So the fact that we don't even have a concept in our language for something like that is very telling. And when I say people need to slow down, that's not just that, we're doing too much. Yeah, that's part of it. But everything that we do, we want it fast. Everything's got to be fast. It's just like, slow the fuck down, guys. Not everything's got to be fast.
Americans haven't learned moderation.
Yeah. Because what happens with fast? I mean, fast in and of itself basically implies excess, right? It's an excess of speed.
Right.
Okay, well, if you're doing everything fast, then there's a tendency for everything to be done in excess. That's a problem. So we've got to figure out what you just touched on, Charles. Is like, we've got to relearn moderation, because that's where balance exists. And until we get that back, we're really doing ourselves a huge disservice.
100%. So you're pretty much, your whole idea for the rest of your YouTube channel is just keep on keeping on, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy that. That's one of the things, one of our questions for the week was, what 5 YouTube channels do you enjoy? Yours is on there because
Oh, thanks.
I know that once a week I'm going to get some knowledge on a cigar that I probably haven't tried. Or if you're reviewing a cigar that I have tried, I want to try it again to see if I get something that you got out of it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And, you may be trying a cigar or reviewing a cigar or talking about a cigar that I smoked a year ago when I was less informed. And now that, I've gotten a little better, I hope, at picking out some of the nuances, that now it's like, oh, he says that. Okay, I get this. Okay, cool.
Well, it's funny too, because some things can be there, and this isn't isolated to just flavor detection either. This can be with lots of other things. If you aren't knowing what to look for example, you can miss all kinds of things visually, audibly. There's so many things that you can miss unless you are looking for certain things. And it's not to say that the power of suggestion is completely at work here. There's some of that for sure.
Oh yeah.
But if someone's not drawing your attention to something else that you might have missed, it doesn't mean that it didn't exist until they said it. It's just that, well, he simply pointed it out to me. Okay, great.
Right.
My mind wasn't in that avenue at that point, but now that someone told me it's there, I can see that. Maybe not as strong as you. Maybe your palate is more sensitive to those certain elements than mine, and that's completely acceptable. But just because someone else pointed out something to you doesn't mean that, I'm just open to the power of suggestion. That certainly that sort of phenomena can't exist. It certainly does, and people can be suggestible, but just because someone else has a different experience with it doesn't mean that you're a bad palate or that you're a bad reviewer. It's just that, this guy just for whatever reason was able to detect this sort of note at this particular time that you missed. Also, you talked about smoking a cigar that you smoked last year. Cigars change a lot sometimes over a course of the year, especially if you bought the same box. This happened to me so many times. I'll buy a box of cigars. I'll light the first couple up, and they're still a little too fresh. They haven't quite gotten out of that sick period. They haven't purged enough of the ammonia, and you're not crazy about it. It was fine. And then you kind of forget about it. It sits in the back of your humidor for a while, and then you find it the next year, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. I wonder what this one's like now. And you light it up, and you're like, oh shit, this is really good now. This is way better than it was before. I mean, I feel like that happens to the majority of cigars, that if they're made with good tobaccos, they only get better with age to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
So let's go into, I guess, the recent times. I said that you were one of the founding reviewers for Cigar Public.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking for other people to know because I already know, because I'm into this with you.
Right.
But tell us how you got into this. How did Cigar Public happen for you?
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't mention just how integral in this cigar journey it was, how integral Brian Dustin with Bravada Cigar Club was for me. Because that guy's got an incredible palate, probably the best palate I've ever encountered. And he can pick out notes better than anybody. And the reason I believe that is because I would be the sort of cigar reviewer who would pick out at most 8 or 9 cigar notes in a review for the entirety of the cigar. And then I started subscribing to Bravada Cigar Club, and he sends these incredible flavor notes that have upwards of 25, 30 different notes between the draw and retrohale. And I'm just going, okay, this guy's a little nuts. Let's just see what these cigars are all about. And the more I smoked them and was following along his flavor notes, the more I did it, I was just like, I'll be damned. This guy is on to something. He is picking up stuff that I never would have imagined I could detect, but I'm picking them up, and they're there. And after a while, I was able to do it on my own with cigars that were not Bravada cigars. I was like, you know what? There's something to this developing your palate thing. This is really cool. And he really educated my palate in a lot of ways, because he kind of showed me in a certain way how to articulate things that I was getting, but I didn't know how to express it, and he was like, that's the term that I was looking for, and I couldn't figure it out. So I said something, kind of mundane instead, because it was, that's the best I could do at the time. And then I realized, oh, okay, this is how I can go about verbalizing these reviews a little bit more effectively. So after doing that for a few years with Pravada, just being a subscriber, and that's another guy's like Brian, you reach out to him. He's very quick to respond. He's very amenable to any questions you might have. He's a sort of person who is only too interested in educating you as much as possible if you're interested in learning. And he's done a hell of a job just for his club members, putting out informative and educational videos. Even the cigars that he sends out in his box, he does an incredible job in informing people the story behind the cigar and the story behind the cigar makers and what their significance is, which is a big deal. I feel like a lot of times people smoke a cigar and don't really give anything about its origin or its creators a second thought, which is a shame. I think the more you know about the origin of a cigar and its creator is only going to be better for everybody involved. So, corresponding with him for a couple years, and he was watching my reviews and reviews I was putting out just on written formats and on Instagram. He said, you've got a pretty good palate yourself. And I said, oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that coming from you. And he said, I'm thinking about starting something where we need people to review cigars. And I said, if ever that comes to be a point, I'm your guy. I want to do that. If it's another opportunity for me to review more cigars, great. I'm all for that. And then fast forward to June 2022, he started Cigar Public. I was one of the original reviewers along with you, Charles. And it was just, he came up with the scoring system that we use. It has been tweaked over the last couple of years with the reviewer feedback, and it has changed a little bit, but effectively it's still at its core the same review system that we've been using. And I think it's a very effective one. I think it touches everything that a review should. And I was pretty voracious when it came to whenever he sent a batch of cigars to review. That was my priority. It was like, let's get these reviewed as soon as I can and get them submitted. And I know you and myself, we have reviewed a lot of cigars for Cigar Public because we were hungry for it. We want to do it. We want to review as much as we can. And I got to tell you, Charles, when Cigar Public first started back in 2022, that June, you were one of the first reviews that I read where I thought, and I looked at the reviews you wrote, and I thought, oh shit, this guy's pretty good. This guy writes some good reviews. He's got a good palate, and I like the way he writes. So I was definitely drawn to your reviews in particular early on. And there's a couple other too. I mean, a lot of the reviewers that we still have with us right now, I think are some of the best ones that have been on with Cigar Public anyway. So that's a really fortunate thing that, in my opinion, the best ones are still around. The ones that have stuck it out as long as they have are the ones that I feel like put out the best stuff. So I was happy.
Do you still remember your number?
I was number 13, I believe, originally. Yeah.
Yeah, we all had fun with the numbers there when we first started.
We had, he was originally trying to get 30 reviewers. I think when I actually saw the list, it was closer to when I actually started taking over editing the website with Johnny Cardenas earlier this year. I started getting access to all the stuff that they had just so I knew where we were. And the actual list was only about 25 reviewers, which is still a lot. So, and now we're like, what, 7 or 8? There's only 7 or 8 of us that have stuck it out.
Yeah.
But that group still puts out a healthy number of reviews because we're dedicated to it. We have a passion for it. We love doing it. That's a big part of it. Is like, if you don't love doing this, it's going to come across, in the quality of your review. Nobody wants to read a review of someone who doesn't even love what they're reviewing.
True.
You see that sometimes with like movie reviewers or restaurant reviewers. You can just tell they're jaded. They're jaded with this shit, and they It was like, I couldn't care less about this anymore. And it's just like, then just quit, man. If that's where your mind is, just quit. You're not doing yourself or anybody else any favors by sticking out. So I'm really happy with the group that we've got, and not just for reviewers, but with the contributions that we got. You've been really helpful with your articles, but also forwarding press releases and stuff like that, just so we can keep a good stream of content on Cigar Public. It's been very helpful, and I definitely appreciate it.
I appreciate you saying that. So let's fast forward to, I guess, a few months ago.
Sure.
We were just your average everyday reviewer and contributor. And we had some high times and some low times. And then coming out of this last little low time, it looks like you've stepped up, and you and another one of our reviewers have now taken a larger role.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, when Cigar Public was first started by Brian Desson in 2022, he did not want to be the sort of person who, he owns the domain and he owns the rights to Cigar Public as an entity, but he didn't want to be the sort of person who was, micromanaging what the site put out. He wanted it to be in such a thing where it was basically the people who were doing the contributions were the ones that were basically running the site, which is where it is now. Kind of a for us,
right,
by us structure, which at least for the last few months has been working out pretty well. For those of us who have been watching Cigar Public for the last year, there was a few moments there, a few stretches of several months where content was almost non-existent. The reviews were very sporadic. And that had to do with, the fact that we originally had an editor that had to leave for his own personal reasons, the original editor. And, well, that kind of left a giant vacuum in the works, and no one really knew what to do with it. And it was frustrating because he wasn't really sure of how it was going to progress, how it was going to move forward. They had another guy move in who was acting as the editor. And it didn't work out. The content was slow. The reviews were sporadic still. And there wasn't really a clear direction as far as what the site was going to be about. I always had an idea of what I wanted the site to be about. It was, a cigar industry news site for sure, but not primarily that. What I wanted it to be, and I think what Brian really wanted it to be, was a voice for the cigar industry. And when he says cigar industry, he means like the people who are actually enjoying the cigars, the ones that are in the cigar life, not just manufacturers, not just cigar makers, but also he wanted it to be an outlet to highlight things that were just not being covered by typical cigar media. Cigar Aficionado is the most notorious at this. They only cover their biggest sponsors. That's it.
Absolutely.
This isn't a judgment. I'm not saying that the people at Cigar Aficionado are assholes or anything like that. This is just what their model is. Okay? They're there to make money. I understand that completely, and to a certain extent, I respect it. But they are not going to give the consumer a very good circumspect perspective of what the cigar industry is all about, because all you'll hear about are Rocky Patel, Padron, Fuente, and maybe a few other guys just for the sake of saying that they cover more than 3 companies. But you're not going to get a very good idea as to what, the smaller companies are doing. And in my opinion, the smaller companies are where the real creativity and ingenuity exists. You have people like Sebastian Decope with Cavalier. You've got
Cavalier.
Yeah.
Cavalier.
Oh, good. I hit a good one there. You got, Rainier Lorenzo with HVC. You've got all these newer, smaller companies that, in my opinion, are making the best stuff. They're the ones that are, they're trying new things out with different tobacco strains. They're figuring out ways to do things that are more sustainable. You have guys like, they're not covering some of these unsung legends in the industry, like the Kellner family. Or anybody that have done or Chico Rivas or I'm drawing a blank on this. Don Eladio Diaz. I mean, these are guys that have been. These are living legends of cigar creation, and no one knows who they are. No one knows who they are. You know, at PCA, at the Cigar Public booth, they had Don Eladio Diaz, who had worked with Davidoff through the glory days of Davidoff. He was sitting at their booth the entire time. No one knew who the fuck he was.
Wow.
No one knew who he was. We knew who he was, and we were thrilled that he was there. It was like, dude, you got this guy who had, you know, blended some of the best stuff for Davidoff, and he's sitting at your booth, and no one even recognizes him. And it's like, well, this is a failing of cigar media. They're focusing all their energy on their biggest financial supporters. And there's nothing wrong with that. I understand you got to pay your bills, you got to make money, but if you're going to call yourself a cigar media company, you got to cover the culture of the cigar world, and you got to cover these real movers, the ones that are making stuff like this possible. You got to be able to cover
Amen.
that's a possibility in the first place. These are the real pioneers, and no one knows who they are. Well, it's not the consumer's fault they don't know who they are. How are they supposed to know who they are? These guys, like Don Eladio's not going out trying to like market himself. He does what he loves, which is create cigars and do it the best he can. It's cigar media's job to find out who creates them and shine a light on them. So that was what I think Cigar Public's mission should be. And so we are doing our best to cover new and emerging cigar companies, doing interviews with cigar manufacturers who aren't covered a lot. You know, everybody is seen. And then again, it's like, we'll probably never interview someone like Steve Saka. It's like, well, everyone knows who Steve Saka is. Who hasn't done an interview with Steve Saka? Everyone's done one. We did one at PCA, you know, and it was fun. It was good content. But that's not really the stuff that gets me super excited. What gets me super excited is interviewing these newer companies, these smaller ones who are working with these incredible blenders. Case in point, the last interview I did was with Daniel Lance, who is the marketer and business partner with Esteban Diaz with the new company called Domain Cigars.
Right.
They only have 2 blends, and the 2 blends they put out are fire, man. They are good, and it's because this guy finally started his own company. Esteban started his own company, having worked in factories all his life, quite literally since he was a kid. He's worked in tobacco fields and cigar factories all his life. He knows what he wants to do. He knows what he can do, and now he's answering to no one but himself.
Awesome.
This is what gets me excited. That's the sort of stories I want to have covered. So
absolutely,
that's the emphasis we're trying to shoot for. And obviously, when we come across stuff like Conor McGregor getting into cigars, we're going to cover that too. So,
well, Cigar Public is also one of the first media to cover a brand new company by a gentleman named Bryce Weigel of Silent Hero Cigars.
Right.
He is a new one who just came out, and he is somebody that is starting to, you know, make a lot of noise on a lot of different podcasts right now. And we're, you know, we had him on the TriStar Herf, I think 11 days after he started. And that's what we were excited about, is we're bringing him and his cause and his mission to the world. And that's what we're here for. And that's what we're proud to be about.
Yeah. And why stories like that are important, because that gives you a finger on the pulse of what the culture is too. It's like, you get to know why this guy is doing what he does. You don't just know, you're not just reading about what he's doing. You're learning about the passion and the impetus behind it, which is far more interesting than, here's a new cigar company and they're making X, Y, and Z cigars, and it's made with this tobacco. Okay, great. Why should that matter to me? You know, you meet
the guy, you meet, you know, what really makes him tick, and everything behind it is absolutely amazing. Like Charles said, we met Bryce on the TriStar. We're like, we got to have him on this as soon as we got started, because he's just one of those guys. He just draws you in with his story and what he's behind, man. And he loves creating great cigars, but he loves the cause behind it just as much, if not more. And to me, like that, again, it's that community. You know, it's what we're all about. So it was amazing.
Yep.
Okay, so I know we're falling behind. Let's jump into, before we go on with the next question, let's go into the second, third on this one real quick.
Right on.
I got flavors up front are dark and bold, heavy espresso notes lead the way, followed by earth, black pepper, and a slight dark chocolate in the background. Retro brings black pepper, earth, and a slight oak note. Draws slightly loose, but still lots of thick, full smoke. Burn tends to get wavy, but works itself out. Strength is full. Ash holds tight, not assholes tight.
Why do you guys keep putting me last on these reviews? All right, go ahead. All right.
So I get fragrant cedar, espresso, dark cacao, some slight notes of sassafras / menthol. I'm getting some menthol coolness coming through, and there's some oakiness on the finish.
Nice.
Man, you guys, what? Why do I even go? All right,
Come on.
I got some cocoa notes. I got a little bit of nuttiness, baking spice, and light cedar. So there you go.
Nice.
Man, that retro has gotten really bright. It's really
I love
bright
the retro on this one.
Yeah.
Oh man, such a good smoke, man. I'm kind of giving it away here, but this might be my highest rating yet on the cigar on the podcast. This is amazing.
Well, I'm not going to give it away, but yeah. So back into Cigar Public really quickly. I completely agree with the direction it's going, and I know we all had a meeting about where we wanted it to go, and it was to the point at that meeting that what I felt when the meeting was going on was it was a meeting to go ahead and shut down the project because it was no longer. Not that it wasn't wanted, but I don't know how to put it, but it wasn't priority anymore.
Coasting.
And then we all jumped on and said, we've been living this thing for the last year or two. It is a priority. Yeah. So let us do this. Mm-hmm. And we all, there was 4, 5, 6, 7 of us on there. And we stayed on after the meeting was over and kind of did our own meeting again and decided and made a pact with each other. If we're willing to work together and to do this, we're going to do it. And we were all, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And I was talked before that meeting occurred, Brian reached out I reached out to Brian, and he just talked to me personally and said, listen, let's talk about Cigar Public. And before he started, he said, well, hold on a second. What's your thoughts on it? What is your opinion about this project moving forward? And I said, well, Brian, we've been doing this for over 2 years now. We've put a lot of time into it, and a lot of our work hasn't actually been used for whatever reason. A lot of the stuff that we had been writing, reviews we had been submitting, hadn't been published, and it's been frustrating to us, but we don't want it to just go away. And really, if you are going to be open to the idea, we would like to keep the train running on this and like to start getting it picking up speed again. But this is really this is your call, because you own this. You own it, and you have to make the final decision if we can continue this or not. And he said, okay, now that I know that you actually have a motivation to do it, yes, I'll of course let you guys do it. I'll keep sending you guys unbanded cigars so you can review them, because this is another aspect of Cigar Public that no one else does when it comes to cigar reviews for a media outlet. We do completely blind reviews. We don't know what we're smoking. They come without a band. They're numbered. And then after we write our reviews, we send the people who know the list of the cigars that were gone out. All right, here's our review. This was number 6. What was number 6? And then we'll publish it. And I have been surprised a couple of times on cigars that I smoked that scored lower than I would have expected that particular cigar to get, and vice versa. There's other cigars that I reviewed that was like, oh, really? That scored a 90? I wouldn't have thought that would have scored a 90. And it just goes to show the bias that can occur when you see the branding on a particular cigar. For whatever reason, sometimes branding can kill a cigar. Sometimes branding can save a cigar. We're more interested in getting as unbiased as possible a review experience whenever we do cigar reviews. So after we told Brian we wanted to keep doing it. We got together as contributors and said, all right, what sort of content schedule do we want to see being put out? And we basically settled on what we're doing right now. You know, people can basically expect new content on Cigar Public of some kind every day. There is something new on the site every day. Sometimes it's industry news. Sometimes it's an op-ed piece. Sometimes it's cigar reviews. Sometimes it's an interview. Sometimes it's a highlight of something that's going on in the cigar world. You know, we've covered everything. And this is something I'm going to have to start getting on, because with all the hurricanes that have gone on recently in Florida and in the southeast of the United States, it has had a certain effect on the cigar industry. Thankfully, the damage done by the recent 2 hurricanes has been relatively minor when it comes to cigar tobacco farms and factories, thankfully. Not to diminish the damage that it's done to a lot of other regular people out there. That can't be diminished, of course, but we still have something to talk to people about when it comes to, okay, you know, yeah, there was some damage done, but it's not so significant that we're going to see a complete disruption of the industry because of it, which is the only silver lining that I can really find out of this recent hurricane event.
Well, I will say, you know, coming from someone who was minorly affected by the first hurricane I went through, counties over here in East Tennessee, you got Greene County, you got Cott County, and then you've got places up in Unicoi and stuff like that. And then you have across our neighbors over here in North Carolina. North Carolina they were pummeled. I mean, there's communities over there that no longer exist.
Yeah, they're just
and
gone.
Now recently you had, you know, this new hurricane that's come through the Tampa area and then leveled so much stuff. So, you know, we just now got back full utilities, and it's been 2 weeks. So I even reached out to you and said, yeah, I'm not doing anything because, you know, I wasn't smoking cigars. And if I was, it was,
right.
You know, I didn't have a way to take a shower. I didn't have a way, you know, to do any of that. So
yeah, cigar reviews took a
very
sincere back seat at that point.
Yeah. So I will say, anybody who is still giving and donating, be sure that you guys are still giving and donating. I'm not saying don't, you know, slow down. I'm not saying slow down for your help and stuff in North Carolina, but, you know, we got our brothers down south now that desperately are going to need some help. So, you know, I watched that hurricane come through last night on TV. I was up all night watching it and just realizing, you know, oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so, thoughts and prayers. I mean, everybody always says thoughts and prayers.
Right.
If you are somebody who believes, say some prayers, because there's a lot of people out there right now that need it.
Right.
But
I got family down there, and I think everybody's doing good. As of now, they have no power and what have you. But I got to give a little shout out to David Blanco. I'm actually friends with him, and I follow him obviously, and we talk a lot off Instagram, on social media. Yeah, he is involved with everything from the first storm to like recovery efforts to now, and that fucker is just, he don't stop, man. He is a great dude, and shout out to David Blanco, man. He's just a great dude in the industry, and he don't stop.
Yep.
I watched him today, and he's cleaning up roads, cutting trees, moving logs, moving debris. He's out there busting ass to help out. So 100%, you know, respect this dude for this. And he could be sitting back taking care of his own business, and he's basically said, you know, my business will survive. These people need my help. So, you know, I want to thank him for what he's doing. He's not helping my community down there, but he's helping out the community.
Right.
So, so finishing up with Cigar Public really quickly. So Cigar Public now is, like you said it best. It's for us, by us.
Right. Which is where it should. Which is really where it should be for what we're trying to accomplish. You know, it's because the whole idea is we wanted all of our contributors and reviewers is like, hey guys, keep your finger on the pulse. If you know something that's going on in your area, because we're all over the place. We got people in Pennsylvania. We got people in New Hampshire. We've got people in California. We've got people in Florida. We've got you, Charles, in Tennessee. I'm in Missouri. We got people in Utah. We're spread out all over the place. And the different areas all have something different going on when it comes to the cigar culture. And that's really what we're trying to focus on. It's like, guys, keep your fingers on the pulse. If you see something in your area that you think is noteworthy, let us know about it. You know, that's where we have a certain advantage, is that because we're in so many different places, we have a unique perspective to shine a light on that a lot of these publications may not have. So let's take advantage of that.
Well, see, I want to see Cigar Public grow, just because, you know, for the last couple of years, I've had a vested interest in it. I'm not someone who enjoys writing. I'm not someone who,
which is a damn shame, Charles, because you're pretty damn good at it.
He's really damn good.
I appreciate it. But I enjoy sharing knowledge. So if you read some of the stuff, I literally will talk it into my computer like I'm telling a story.
Yeah.
And I'm telling a story like Mick came up to me and said, hey, like, we've got one coming out soon about wild turkey. It would be the same thing as if Mick came up and said, hey, tell me about what happened at wild turkey. And then I go through it, and then I start going, okay, well, this rambles too much. This doesn't sound right. And so it's 2 or 3 days of just ripping something apart to the point where it's like, okay, it's done enough.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But
sneak peek, that column of wild turkey, you can expect that next Wednesday, guys. So if you're got something to look forward to there.
I haven't turned much in. I will say this: after, you know, I was doing my best to try to get something out every week, and then after I got to the point of about 25 articles this year, it's like, okay, what else can I say? So, but I was watching something, and we got two articles coming out in the next couple of weeks, one about wild turkey and one about Mountain Dew.
That's right.
So those should be rather interesting. But
one thing I've already read them, so I know they're going to be good. So
I always want to know what you think about them. It's one of those things where I think they're interesting, but I want to, you know, I want to know what somebody else is thinking about it. So, but closing out that is, so I think you can't take anything away from what Brian's done. He has given the resources for it to keep going, but I think he's also done the right thing and allowed it to be controlled, operated, ran, distributed by us.
Right.
And I mean, I think it's on the right path, and I think it's got longevity now.
Yes.
And you know, there's going to be people that's not going to read it just because of how it got started. And there's going to be people who read it just because how it got started.
Right.
And that's going to be, it's going to be the same thing when people talk about, you know, whether it's a whiskey brand or whether it's a review site that does this. People's going to love it. People's going to hate it. People's going to brag on it. People's going to talk trash.
Right.
So, you know, it's one of those things. It is what it is. But I will say that I know I'm 100% proud of what we're doing. I'm honored to be a part of it. And, you know, I am, you know, you and John out there leading the way, and you guys are keeping us on our toes and trying to make sure that we're getting stuff out. So I have to say, I appreciate that there is some leadership behind it, and it's good leadership.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, and one of the criticisms I've been hearing, and John as well, is that, you know, it's like, none of these guys are journalists. None of these guys are professional writers. It's like, you're absolutely right. We're not. But I can tell you one thing.
Yes, I am not a professional writer, 100%.
I will tell you one thing. Every last one of us loves cigars to death. And that is where I feel that's the more important aspect of this. You could have the greatest writer in the world, but if he's jaded or not well-versed in the subject he's supposed to be writing on, I don't care how good of a writer is. It's going to suck because it's not going to distill the culture that we all know and love to a way that is going to be appealing to anybody else. You're going to need to know your subject matter, and you're going to have to love your subject matter. And that is one thing I think we definitely have. We have lots of things. But the one thing I'm going to talk about right now is that we all have a passion for this. None of us are getting paid for this shit. We're doing it because it's a passion project. It's a labor of love. We're doing this because we love doing it.
Let's say that again. None of us are getting paid for this shit. None of us.
I mean, we get free cigars to review, but that's the extent.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's not one of those things where, okay, you spent this time writing this or researching this, so you're probably getting a check for no. It was midnight. I decided that I couldn't sleep, so I'm going to research this next article, and my wife is going to look at me and say, fucking go to bed.
Right, exactly.
Or I'll be driving in a car, and she says, what are you doing? I said, hey, I just researched this thing on Mountain Dew. And she'll go, for another article, right? And I was like, well, yeah. She's like, okay.
Well,
so
it's when you got to do it, when inspiration hits, you got to do it strike when the iron's hot,
Oh yeah.
And I will say that is one of the reasons why I don't write articles or submit articles that are on cigar news. Mm-hmm. I enjoy cigars. I enjoy reviewing them. I enjoy smoking them. I enjoy the experience. But where your love, passion could be over the cigar and the brand and the makeup on it, and you talking about nerding out on the different tobacco, you roll that over into bourbon. As a boy who grew up in Kentucky, I bleed bourbon.
Yep.
I actually think I've drunk so much lately that I do. But that's my passion. I geek out over that history. So I stay in my lane, and you probably won't see any articles when you type up mine. You're probably not going to see articles that say today in cigar news. No.
Right.
But you're going to see whiskey shit.
Yeah. And this is, which is why one of the many reasons that I'm thrilled you're still on with us is because that's an aspect of Cigar Public that I just think enriches the entire site, is having that added depth of content. It's not all just about cigars. We also have culture pieces in there. We have whiskey pieces in there. These are all things that tie together, and they're of interest to a lot of people who enjoy cigars. And you know your stuff, man, and no one's going to question that. And so as soon as I saw that Whiskey Wednesday was a thing, I was like, great, I hope this stays forever. And
it was almost canceled.
Yeah, I know.
It was something that was thought of that it wasn't something that was going to be good on the site, and that it was breaking away from what the site was going to be about,
right.
until the numbers started rolling in, and then it was, hey, do you mind doing a few more of these?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm glad it worked out that way.
I'm doing what I can. It's fall break right here starting next week, so there's a good chance that I will be in Kentucky and Middle Tennessee and in South Tennessee doing a few distillery tours. So
awesome.
I'm not saying that might be research, but who knows?
Yep.
So while Mick is coming back, let's finish up this the notes on the cigar. Right. I know we're both on at the end, and I will say this: most cigars, the second third tends to be my favorite part. I'm enjoying the final third on this one a hell of a lot. I will say that I'm probably enjoying this one better than when I had it yesterday. But I said at the end, still lots of bold flavors, charred oak, black pepper, and earth up front, followed by a bready note. And I'm getting that bready note right now. And it's kind of like a musty, funky bready note. I don't know. I can't pick out what kind of bread, but it's that bready note. Most of the dark chocolate notes are gone, but do pop up here and there. Retro is oak, earth, white pepper. Burn is good. Smoke is thick and full. And I'm at I've creeped into the full range of strength. Not overpowering, just creeping in.
Yep. So I got very robust black pepper, peaty earth, charcoal. It's funny that you're talking about the bread note because I was just getting rye, like rye bread. And sincere white and black pepper on the retro, more oaky charcoal, bitter
Yep, there's that
espresso
oak.
powder, bitter espresso powder on the retro, medium full body, still a fluffy smoke texture. Burn has been at times wavy, but not problematic. Draw has been very satisfactory this entire time.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm very close. I got still got light baking spice, black pepper, light earthy notes, and dark chocolate, medium to full. And yeah, that smoke, I would have never picked that out, like how fluffy and like oily I believe you guys said it was, but honestly, it's smooth and consistent. What a great smoke, start to finish. It's been great.
Very good.
So let's while everybody's looking at scores and finishing up some writing stuff, every week we do what we call our top 5. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, exactly 5. It could be, just whatever's coming to mind.
Sure.
But this week, since you have a YouTube channel, it's what are the top 5 YouTube channels that you enjoy watching? So I'll let you guys go first. Either one of you.
You want to go first, Mick?
Go
Oh
first,
man,
Nick.
put me in the spot.
Yeah.
So I really didn't write down 5 because kind of actually forgot about this part of the podcast, but I'm gonna go just because I've been hitting them all week. Jonose, man, great podcast. Smoke and Sound and On Banded, Cigars on Banded, 2 of my favorites in the cigar world. Great time. I love what they do with their stuff. And Deck Night Under Rocks. Yeah, Charles, I stole that from you because you guys are buddies, but I enjoy watching them. It's a lot of fun. So that's 4 out of 5. That's all you get.
All right. Well, my top 5. Got to go with a newcomer to the podcast game, and that is Real Smoke Podcast. Come on, guys. Come on.
Woo! Thank you.
Go with that. I got to give a big shout out to my boy over in California, Matt of Cigar Hound Dog. This guy is a workhorse when it comes to cigar reviews. This guy puts out 4 cigar reviews on average a week. That is a lot of content. And he has grown very, very, very fast. I remember when he started his channel less than 2 years ago, and that dude is already up above 20,000 subscribers, which is phenomenal. Incredible growth. So big shout out to him. I don't watch a whole lot of other YouTube channels at this point, although I know I keep going back to I go to Joe Rogan a lot just because there's so much content and there's a lot of really interesting things in there. It's an obvious choice. It's like saying the Beatles for a top 5 band. I get it. It's lazy. On my own personal thing that I like to go back to often, there is a cigar, or not a cigar. He smokes cigars, but there's a channel that deals with a lot of philosophy and theology discussions, and the guy likes a good whiskey and a good cigar. And dude's name is Matt Frad. His YouTube channel, or his podcast, is Pints with Aquinas. I watch that guy a lot. He has a lot of different guests on, a lot of different backgrounds, not just religious people. And they have some really, really interesting conversations and very, very authentic debate and dialogue goes on in that channel. And it's respectful, too. It's not a bunch of people tearing at each other's throats and when they do debate. It's a debate as it should be, in my opinion. So
Love that.
as far as I got 4 out of 5, too, Charles. I'm coming up short as well.
Awesome. Well, before I give you mine, some of the comments that we had was Leaf Cutter said Cigar Loons podcast, Smoke and Sounds podcast, and Cigar Dudes podcast. Rocky Cigar Review said Great Lakes Smoke Show, Cigar Loons podcast, and Leaf Cutters podcast. So I've got more than the 5. I'm an overachiever today. When it comes to whiskey, I enjoy Bourbon Junkies the cigar, bourbon van stuff and whiskeys. Cigars, Cigar Hound Dog was one of mine up there. I got Down to Herf podcast, Jonose Cigars, Jeremy Sears, Lean Mac 912. I love watching his stuff. Deck Night on the Rocks, Ozhead's podcast, Average Drinker for some whiskey news, and then because I love smoking meat, Meat Church. So if you love anything about smoking like brisket and stuff like that, check out Meat Church. That's a good one on there too. So
Nice list.
those are mine.
All right.
Nice.
Are we ready? We ready for Hot Box?
You want to do
Before we
that,
do
or
the
you
final
want to go ahead? Go ahead. Let's go ahead and give the final numbers.
Yeah, I gotta
Okay.
actually do some addition here, so I can't multitask when I'm doing that.
All right. So while Joe does some 1+1s, Mick, let's go over yours.
All right. So pre-led experience, I got 4 out of 5 in appearance, 5 out of 5 construction, 5 out of 5. Aroma cold draw, I got 4 out of 5. I got flavor, 4 out of 5. Second, third, I got 5 out of 5. Final third, I got 5 out of 5. Overall, excellent, 10 out of 10, so a total of 24. Smoking characteristics, I got 8 out of 10 good for draw. Burn, couple touch-ups, a little bit of waviness, but nothing crazy. I got 8 out of 10 on that, and smoke production was 5 out of 5. My page will come apart here. Overall impression, excellent, 25. And would I smoke a cigar again? Absolutely, I'd buy a box. So overall, I came up with a total of 93.
Wow.
Medium to full. 93. I absolutely love this cigar. This Charles knows my taste at this point. I do not love overly earthy, but that little bit on the back end I'm good with. And this cigar hit all those notes, and the entire way through, I agree with what you guys were saying. Like that final third might be my favorite final third I've ever had. That was a fucking solid cigar, man. Great call for the night. I truly enjoyed it the whole way through.
Right on.
Sweet.
Want me to go next, Charles?
All right. Sure, why not?
All right.
Construction. Oh, go ahead. Joe, go next.
Oh, okay. So construction, I gave it an 18 out of 20. Smoke texture and output, I gave it 4 out of 5. Flavor complexity, 17 out of 20. Flavor enjoyability, 18 out of 20. Burn, 13 out of 15. Draw, 14 out of 15. Overall enjoyability, 5 out of 5. That gives me a grand total of 89, which, according to the Cigar Public model, anything between 86 and 89 is an amazing cigar. Buy a box, and I have.
Well, all right. So mine, construction, 18 out of 20. Draw, 13 out of 15. Burn, 13 out of 15. Complexity, 18 out of 20. Enjoyability, 19 out of 20. Smoke texture and output, 5 out of 5. Overall experience, 4 out of 5. Score, 90.
Damn, Charles, it's like we reviewed for the same damn site or something like that.
How am I the highest one? I'm always the lowest one on every one of these. I have a really, I never rate really super high. Damn it. Crazy.
So
That's all
the
right.
total for the three of us would be a 90.6. So we take that down to just a regular 90. This one comes out to a 90. So if you take mine and Mick, so 93.
He's running calculators back there. It's
Yeah,
impressive.
Yep. And it would come out to a 91. So
I I don't know. I don't love the overly earthy, but like, man, that chocolate notes, the barnyard on the front, the hay, it just the cedar notes as you went through, little bits of chocolate and cocoa. I mean, it was just amazing. I that one hit all the right notes for me, apparently, because I was the highest rated, but I really, really, truly enjoyed that. That was a great cigar, great call, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Earth it can be a problematic note. It can easily be overdone, but when it's acting like a accentuating supporting role sort of thing, it can be excellent.
That's how it was for me on this one. Absolutely, that's spot on.
Same with charcoal to me. Like charcoal on its own sounds terrible, but when it's mixed in with other things, it's kind of like barbecue, like smoked meats. It's like you don't want to taste nothing but charcoal smoke, but it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit in there.
Absolutely. No, it's awesome. That's the first time I've been like the leader of the pack on that, so I'll take it, I guess.
We're all witnessing history today.
But yeah, I don't think I broke 90 yet, have I, Charles? I don't think on any of the ones we've reviewed.
So. Wow.
Yeah, I'm usually really tough on cigars.
This is now by default your front runner for Cigar of the Year for you then.
It probably is. Yeah.
Wow.
That was impressive.
Guys over at Jake White will be happy to hear that.
We'll make sure we post that tomorrow. Okay, yeah, Charles will, because he's my technical guy.
All right, Joe. So before we end this, we have our final segment when we have a guest on. It's called Hot Box.
Let's do it.
So it's 10 questions. We'll rock them out at you. You basically just tell us what you think and what's on your mind. Mick, you're first.
All right. Favorite sports team?
St. Louis Blues.
Hockey.
Not even so hot right now, but let's not forget 2019. We won our first cup, man.
Fuck yeah. I love hockey, man.
It's great.
Favorite cuss word?
It's
Let it rip.
It's shit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
By
I think
way,
everybody said
cigar
so
number
far.
2.
Yeah, again, it's...
All right, aisle seat or window seat?
Aisle seat.
Okay.
Favorite joke?
I don't know if there's not a short version of this joke, but
go for it.
Mine didn't have a short version either.
All right. Favorite joke. A guy goes in to his doctor for his annual exam, and he says, "Oh, George, everything looks good. You have any questions about it?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I got one kind of annoying thing. Every time I go to the urinal, when I finish peeing, there's always the last few drops that end up coming out after I zip up. Is there anything I can do about that?" And he's like, "Well, actually, there's an in-office procedure I can do for you right now that'll take care of that." He goes, "Well, what's the procedure?" He says, "Well, what we do is we take one of your nose hairs and we implant it to the tip of your dick. And it takes care of it, no problem." And he says, "Really? You can do that for me right now?" He says, "Yep, I can do it for right now." So he gets it finished and he leaves the doctor's office and he's like, I got to try this out. So he goes to the nearest John he can come to. He finishes his business and the last few drops start coming out. And right as they start coming out, it goes.
That's great.
That's my favorite one for right now. That changes week by week.
I will be telling that tomorrow around the coffee pot. That's good. That's good. Yeah. All right. So here's a good one.
That's awesome.
Is cereal a soup?
Is cereal a soup? No.
Man. All right.
All right. If you could switch lives with any fictional character, who would it be and why?
Dr. Van Helsing from Dracula.
I'm about to say, I love the looks we get when we ask some of these questions.
That's a good question. I'd say, Dr. Van Helsing from Dracula. Cool. He defeats the ultimate villain. Well, at least he helps anyway.
Right.
If it wasn't for him, everything would be lost, and we'd be overrun by blood-sucking vampires. So there you go.
I thought that was called government.
Remember, this is a fictional story. It didn't really happen.
Oh,
so.
okay. Sorry. Oops. Hey, Mick, you're on mute, buddy. You're on mute.
Lost his mic.
So I will go while he figures that one out. While he figures that one out, I'll ask it for him. What superpower would you want and why?
Oh, flight. That's obvious. Yeah, you got to have flight. You could do anything you want if you had flight. Like Superman flight. Like not like you had to flap your wings like a bird sort of flight, but just like the effortless just zooming through the air. So many of my life problems would be solved if I could do that.
That's
Can you
almost
hear
like
me now?
teleport.
Yeah.
Oh, we got you.
Fuck yeah.
Yay.
I don't know. Something died. I don't even fucking know. I have a new problem every week. Every week something happens. True.
Man, your sound guy is on point today, Charles. Damn.
Are we on 8? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're on 8.
Okay. What is a special skill or talent most people don't know you have?
Man, people don't know I have. A lot of people don't know it. I'm a pretty good impersonator of a select few celebrities. So if you follow my Instagram, I've done Trump a bunch of times. I've done my Arnold. My Arnold needs some work, but it's okay. I do a pretty good Wahlberg, and I just recently discovered I can do James Earl Jones. When he died, I wonder if I can do James Earl Jones.
Can you give us like a 5-second?
I was about to say, yeah. Can you give us some of this?
Like the one I can do without having to prep is like Trump. Like Trump's the one that you can just like pull out anytime because it's just like all you gotta do is just get really excited about something and just you got to use your hands the right way. You got to bring your shoulders in, and then just got to be like, a lot of people don't know I can do this, but a lot of people don't pay attention. A lot of people don't pay attention. It's very sad. It's really quite sad. And he repeats things a lot. You know, he'll say what he's thinking, and then he'll just repeat it again. You know, you'll be like, this is probably the best podcast I've ever been on. Probably. I walked in and I thought this is a great podcast. Everybody should be watching this podcast. Nobody's watching this podcast. I don't understand.
I need that as a liner.
Yes, that needs to be a clip.
Emotional damage.
That's my favorite one to do because it's just like
Amazing.
Trump's one of those guys. Like if you do an impersonation of Trump, he's one of the few people in the political world where you can do an impersonation of him, and you're not sure. Is he knocking on Trump? Does he like Trump? I'm not sure. What is it? It's kind of ambiguous. I'm not really sure where he stands.
That's awesome.
I don't really know what he thinks about me. I hope he thinks he's good. I'm not too sure. We'll look into that. We'll see. We got a lot of work still to do.
Phenomenal, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really need a podcast liner. I need a podcast liner that opens up the podcast like that.
Yeah,
you're free to use the audio anytime you want. That's great.
I'll let you go with number 9 as well, Mick. Go for it.
All right, thank you. This might be my favorite one of the whole group. Would you rather accidentally send a nude to your mom or your boss?
Dang, probably my boss. I don't really have a boss. I own my own business, but I guess if I did have a boss, I think I'd probably accidentally send it to my boss.
I always said that my mom's 90, so she'd never know how to open it, so it's great. But
that's a good point. Maybe I should go with my mom. I don't know.
Well,
you make the argument that she's already seen you naked anyway, so it's like
true. Very
granted,
true.
it was years ago, but I bet she probably wouldn't care too much. Like I would imagine my mom would just kind of be like, why did you send me this? I don't understand. Like it probably would cause me fewer problems if it's sent to my mom. So now I'm going to retract my answer and go with my mom.
So, son, why did you send me that? I just wanted to see if you thought it grew any.
No, I that was meant for my doctor. I'm sorry. That wasn't supposed to go to you.
All right. So to end things out tonight, and this is my favorite one. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Best piece of advice I ever received would have to be from my dad when he simply said, if you're going to work for someone, work for yourself. As far as practical advice goes. So that's the best advice that has done me the most benefit in my life for sure. So.
Oh yeah, brother.
Awesome. I love that. So, your final thoughts. Let everybody know how to find you, where to watch you, where to read about you, all that good stuff. The floor is yours. So, take it away.
Right. So if you want to watch great in-depth cigar reviews on YouTube, Jonose Cigars is on YouTube at Jonose Cigars. It's spelled Jonose. It's kind of a play on words because I have kind of a prominent nose. That's why the logo is my profile. So Jonose Cigars is like, yes, I know about cigars, but I also have a big nose. So Jonose Cigars. That's the channel, the origin story of the name of the channel. So Jonose Cigars on YouTube. I also on Instagram at Jonose Cigars, same spelling. And then, of course, there's lots of content and written reviews on cigarpublic.com. Don't just go there for my content. There is a lot of really good content. Like I said, it is out every day. There's something new on Cigar Public. So go to Cigar Public often. Leave us comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know things that you would like to see more of. We're always looking to see what people are wanting more of. And we're always, of course, willing to entertain suggestions if they're pertinent. So that's my spiel.
Awesome. So you can leave us by your tagline.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Real Smoke Podcast. Until next time, smoke a good one.
We appreciate you, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much for jumping on here.
Absolutely.
I honestly
Anytime.
Appreciate it. And again, we always offer anybody who has a channel or a podcast or anything like that. You did us a solid by being on here. If you ever want us to do something on yours, we're more than welcome and more than willing to join you at any time.
Awesome.
You are more than welcome to hang out in the background and listen to the last little segment that Mick's got. You can actually stay on here or you can end the night. It's all up to you. But Mick does have a segment that he does, and it's Meanwhile in Memphis. He happens to live in Memphis, so it's all the fun shenanigans that just happens to go on. And
it's
oh my
a
God,
really short one tonight. So this will be the time to hit. That's what she said. It's a really short one tonight. But no.
Right. Oh wow, nothing. Maybe you got to say that line one more time.
That's what she said.
Yeah, it's definitely a short one tonight. I have one good story, but the wife actually sent me this one. I got one great one. So, Memphis, Tennessee. A man stole 51 cases of beer from a semi truck at an Exxon gas station, according to Memphis Police Department. The 18-wheeler was parked at an Exxon gas station on Summer Avenue around 6 a.m. on October 1st, when the beer bandit, it's great, carried out the heist.
What the fuck?
Yeah. When the truck driver walked out of the store and returned to his truck, the thirsty thief, who wrote this?
Great alliteration.
The thirsty thief was unloading the boxes out of his truck. The truck driver confronted the thief, and a man threatened the truck driver with a weapon before taking off in a silver minivan without tags and missing a hubcap. MPD says.
Meanwhile in Memphis.
MPD says the same man is thought to be responsible for several other beer burglaries across the city. If you have
burglaries?
If you have any idea who this man is, MPD urges you to call Crime Stoppers. You can't make this shit up. Yeah.
Emotional damage.
51 cases of beer. I mean,
impressive.
It's going to be a hell of a party.
Yeah.
Meanwhile in Memphis. So there
What
you
the
go.
most impressive part about that whole story is he did this at 6 a.m. This wasn't late. This was early in the morning. This was one devoted beer thief. This is
The dude tried to stop him, and he was met with a weapon and a guy with a handful of beer. Apparently, I mean, it's just fucking impressive. Welcome to Memphis.
there's a local radio show in my town that does a segment every now and then called "To Be or Not to Be," and it's all they read off headlines, and the rest of the people in the show have to guess if if the headline was a Babylon Bee headline or if it was a real headline. And
That's a good one.
It's a pretty good.
I love that.
Segment.
That's a good segment.
It's a really good segment.
Why didn't we think of that?
Because they already did.
Yeah, I don't know if it's copyrighted or not. You could probably do it.
You could come up with you could come up with something that's close enough to it.
Yeah.
Was it Memphis or was it Babylon Bee? Like, I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah. That's good. I think there's some potential there.
That was that's going to be one that I have to tell Jennifer as soon as I get into the house if she's still awake. But yeah, that's a good one. Well, I know Mick's already finished his cigar. You're nubbing yours. I've started my next cigar. So
yeah, I just finished.
I will say that great job to Jake Wyatt Cigars. You guys put out a fantastic cigar. Absolutely loved it. I'll have the graphics done for it probably tomorrow. I'll send that out. Again, Joe, thanks for all that you're doing for Cigar Public. And John, I know you listen to this as a podcast while you're working, so thank you for all that you're doing as well. And Joe, thanks again for jumping on here. We really do appreciate you.
Joe, I'll say real quick, like, I know we just met tonight, man, but what you're doing is exactly what I've always wanted to do for this industry. Like, I want people to slow down, enjoy a great cigar, and I greatly appreciate what you're doing, man. It's Cigar Public's one of my favorites, man, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
I think there's a lot of people who are kind of craving that, and that's what I'm hoping to tap into. So thank you for saying that.
Oh yeah.
All right, final request before I kick us all out. Please close us out, former President Trump.
There's been a lot of talk about slowing down. We're going so fast. Everything is moving at a bullet's pace. They say it's a bullet pace. I don't know about you, but bullets don't really affect me very much. They hit my ears sometimes, but that bullet was going so far left. Everything is so far left. If they had just gone a little bit to the right, they would have gotten my beautiful head. But because they're so far left, that it's unbelievable, really, when you think about it. They couldn't even go a little bit to the right. They had to stand on their lefty principles, and so they went too far left. And it's not like my head is small. It's quite a big head. It's quite a big head, very big head, probably the biggest head you've ever seen. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that. We'll see. But yes, the message I would like to leave everybody with is, we need to slow down. We need to stop going so damn fast. So fast.
And on that note, thanks to everybody who listened. Thanks to everybody who sent comments in. We have another bye week next week, but we will be back in 2 weeks with Blackbird Cigars.
Right on.
So everybody have a wonderful night. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram at RealSmokePod. Check us out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on Spotify as well. Everybody have a great night, and we will talk to you next time.
Much love.